It's interesting topic. So that we've just started this AI that helps us developers to stay productive. And actually today we have even a meetup dedicated to artificial intelligence that could help us on a day-to-day basis. So our meetup is called GitHub Copilot in Action. And for those who are not familiar, this is well, it's relevantly new product from GitHub, which was bought by Microsoft. So you may treat it as a Microsoft tool. And they tell about themselves that this is like your artificial intelligence pair programmer. Okay, so we have today awesome speaker, lead software engineer, Rostislav Kshmirak, who actually used GitHub Copilot for some time on a day-to-day basis, and he agreed to share his experience with us today. So, Rostislav, hi, how are you?
I'm good. What about you?
Good.
Started from the great discussion.
Yeah, we can make a start.
Yep. Yeah, okay, so regarding GitHub Copilot, what I can tell you is actually I was using it from the beginning. I was signed up for technical preview because it was just out of curiosity what it can do. And then it was really like surprising how they trained it and what possibilities it can give you. Yes, so if we would move to the next slide, it would be time for the demo because the easiest approach to like show what can GitHub, what is GitHub Copilot, it's basically show it. So now I will share my IDE. Yes, so I hope you can see it. What it is, I like to present all the demos on this clean architecture project. It's actually open source on GitHub, and I think sometimes in a while I should buy them a coffee for this because they build it and it's like the template of clean architecture and it can be used wherever you want. So
Rostislav, the only thing that I would like to ask is to make, if possible, font size a bit larger, so it would be easier to read what you're showing.
Increase. Yep. Well, let no.
Yeah, it's better.
Let me know when
it's enough. Yeah.
It's better. Yeah. So regarding GitHub Copilot, let's go straight away to the example. Yeah, we have our clean architecture project, and for example, this is just an example of to-do items, which has to-do and to-do item and to-do list. So as an example, let's build something different. Actually, can it be just to one moment, I'm trying to make it so it's always
Okay, while you are configuring,
or no?
Yeah, it looks good. Okay,
cool. So what we will be doing is let's try to build like real pod application, but we want, instead of to-do list, we want to build something like posts. For example, we want to have some wall where we can like add post, create post, and everything. From the backend side, what we need to do is to basically create these entities. So let's start. Here I just added that I want to do this post, and let's see what GitHub Copilot is providing us. As you can see, this is in the background. This is actually a suggestion from GitHub Copilot. And if I press tab, it would basically create, but it wants to have it even bigger, like it is proposing us, which gives us like basic structure of what can be found on GitHub site. So GitHub Copilot is trained on different GitHub projects, basically open source, and all this code that is provided by GitHub Copilot is free to use by you. So you can use it for production reason or for everything. It doesn't have like license because it was gone through the GitHub machine learning machine. And they have some improvements and new features that they are going to introduce, but for now it's working like this. In case if I can be satisfied with this class, I can be not. So what are the cases that I can do is I can ask for some other solution. And what would I do is, let me, so I'm on this place and I want to open GitHub menu. And, and it doesn't work. I will need to turn on presentation mode actually. If I would exit, like on the right top corner, we have this GitHub Copilot icon. This is depends on each like IDE. This is in Writer. If you like to use it in VS Code or any other IDEs, it's a bit different. What it gives me basically completion for GitHub, which is provided by GitHub Copilot. It's actually, if I'm not mistaken, providing around 10 completion. We can count it if you want. And this is actually based on where my cursor is relying. So let's make sure that we have only this post. I have here a cursor, and let's see what it would send us. Just one moment. Yes, so what it's trying? This solution is saying that we might have title, content, comments. This one also only about title content, and this one has a bit more like different stuff that is going on. It's not like it's actually can be a ready to go solution, but this is something that us GitHub Copilot team says like good starting point where you can start and continue. For example, let's say that we want to have something like this. Let it be. So I will increase actually here. It should be for all. Still no. Oh, okay. Good one.
Are you trying to increase the font size or so?
Yeah, but only for the editor, so probably here. Yeah.
Okay,
now
yeah,
it's better. Yeah, go. So now when we have this post, what we need to add is configuration for our entities. And to have it quicker, I can just open the configuration file, which is actually relying in different projects, and just start typing something like post configuration. And let's wait for our Copilot. It's now trying to find the solutions. So loading. This is actually the thing about Copilot. It's not offline, so everything is gonna taken from the online. You cannot work with this without connection to the database, to the internet. And here it is. I have this solution, which seems to be like the first one. I believe they are different. Like we can see that this is trying to put the same file in different places. but this one looks, for example, okay for me. Let's try to accept it. And voila, we have some comments that is actually not needed for us. So we can delete it, but we have our post configuration, which has basically max length, and this is the way how you can configure like in clean architectures the max length for the properties. Yep. So as we can see, for example,
okay. So sorry, Rostislav, for interruption. So you've just generated with just artificial intelligence a new entity for this project, and then again with the help of GitHub Copilot, you were able to generate an entity framework mapping configuration just without no code typed by yourself, right?
Yes, the only thing that I wrote
awesome.
is post
Really
configuration,
awesome.
and then rest tab. What I can point out straight away, for example, we have this field content, and this says 200. I don't think that for content, when we have some post, 200 would be enough. So this is the example that sometimes we need to, like, not sometimes, but always we need to check what is GitHub Copilot providing us. And to be frank, before the demo, when I was doing it, it was providing me 2000 instead of like 200 as now. So what does this mean is that the results by GitHub Copilot is different by the time. So you can find, I believe you can find like that result that I was getting here in all results, but this is the thing with artificial intelligence. So yeah, now we have our post configuration. Let's go further. On the application layer, like for example, we have this to-do list, we have comments, we have different comments. Let's create something like that, but for our post. For our posts. Yes, so we would create we need to have folder comments, and let's not follow this approach, but just create class, something like create post comment. And let's see. First, what we need to do is basically when we are using this mediator, we need to inherit from iRequest. And here it is. As you can see, it's provided this inheritance, and also it's provided all the fields that we basically need to populate. Let's try to compare them. As you can see, they're all the same. So basically, based on the context, which is post, which is our entity, GitHub Copilot was able to provide properly these fields. So in case, let's actually try just out of curiosity. I would delete these two fields. For example, I don't want them anymore. I would go here and let's ask Copilot to regenerate it. And it's thinking. You can do it. One moment, it's retrieving. So let's check. I don't see. Slug shares, it's the latest shares slug. So as we can see, the GitHub Copilot is based on the context. It can generate these classes based on the context. What does this mean is I have selected posts to create posts. It can be something that pretty much easy to find on GitHub. So we can say that as long as it's trained on something, on some classes which contains this post, it was built by this. But as you can see, it's based on the context. So in case if I would have my own business specific entity, it would still generate proper classes based on this context. In the same way, we can do, if we are using mediator handler, Yeah, so create post command handler. Woohoo, let's see what we have. And voila. What does this mean is, as you can see, it's injecting application DB context, it's creating this entity, and it's trying to add post, which is currently not present because I, by purpose, didn't add it. And it's doing save changes. Now let's check other commands, and it has the same approach. So what does this mean is that GitHub Copilot can build this logic based on the examples that it wants to show. In the same way, I can generate controller. So if I would go here and I would just write post controller, and wait a bit. And what we have only create post command. I can go here and wait for a bit, and voila, just I didn't type anything. It's just started to populate for me all these fields just because I'm standing here, and like you can build some application just by clicking enter and tab. Yes, and this is basically the idea. Let's go to a bit different. Like, for example, let's see what we have in these tests. Basically, the question if GitHub Copilot can build these tests. And let's open some, like we have also to do items commands. We can do the same for posts. If it would be something like post commands, and let it be create post tests, just to follow the convention. Let's see what it got here. And I'm just here, not typing anything. Let's see. Thinking. Create post test. Oh, not useful at all. Okay, let's try to add him a bit more context. So I would do to follow the convention. So now I want some test. Which test do I want? First question, if you can guess something. And should request minimum fields. Let's see what it gives us. And it's basically the example, which is similar to this one, because all of this test is first checking the validation. So as you can see, it just created the class that can do these validation checks. Yeah, this is the main feature of GitHub Copilot. It can create, like, as you can see, it's not even implemented, but you can simply just, it can give you some base results that you can use and basically edit a bit, and it will be working. Yeah, one more item that I wanted to show here is like a few, I think, weeks or months ago, I needed to do base 62 encoding. And it was like base 64, it's super easy because you have just, let's say I want it, I will just create something. So super nice name, but whenever you need to do some conversion, for example, to base 64, it's something like convert to base 64 string, and voila. But in that case, I needed base 62, so it's like easier handled in the URLs. One option is to Google, but another interesting option is public string to base 62, 62 string. Okay, and as you saw, the first result wasn't so good, but can it do better? It's trying to know, but we need some parameters. So just let's see what is here. And here we are accepting byte array. Whoa, it's already giving me. So as you can see, it's already, I just tried to explain what I want, and it's already built the example on how to convert to base 62 string. And by the way, this is the result from Stack Overflow, first up when you're trying to find it. This is the thing about GitHub Copilot, because you can just write in, like you start typing in case if it's something generic that can be easily found on the GitHub or somewhere else, this would be provided to you in a bit quicker way. In some cases, as you can see here, you need to check because it's currently not compiled. I would say GitHub Copilot gives 90% result that is compiled, which is actually useful for your context. Previously, I was using another tool, and there it was 90% when it's not compiled at all, and sometimes even no use. So yes, regarding another use cases, let's imagine that you want to solve some tasks on the lead code, because probably just for your learning, for learning algorithm, or just preparing for some interviews or so, it's actually
of course not during the interview, right? Not during the interview. Cheating is a bad thing to do.
It's actually, in this case, you need to straight away turn off GitHub Copilot if you have it. Just a super simple example. Public class list recently used cache. Just a simple example. Oh, I even spelled it wrong, but let's see what it can do. Look at this. I remember when I was trying to resolve it, I have spent a couple of hours to understand that I need linked list, I need some node and everything. And here it was built like in a few seconds. And this is, if I'm not mistaken, the correct way how to use this proper list recently used cache. And I even spelled it in a wrong way. This is like when you are doing some lead code task or something like that, you need to definitely turn this off because it's too easy. It's straight away giving you a result. But the idea is that in case if you need to build some algorithm, this is the tool that can build it very quickly for you. One more interesting thing that just to show what it can do. For example, sometimes we have translations in, like we want to build translation for the Angular project. And I have done it very a long time ago, but I remember that in the end we had something like this. So I have just added this translation in JSON. And what I want to do is let's create such object as this one. And then I want to add some fields. For example, oh, it's even trying to add it, but no, I want something myself. For our post project, let's say you want to have title. Okay, let it be. What else? Description can be. Price, let it be. Quantity. I just press in tab. It's just providing me some result. Let's say I want something like content additionally, and probably created by, yeah, look, it even understands that it should be like this probil with space inside. So I have something like this. And let's see that I also want it in French. It just translated me to French. So
that is awesome. That is beautiful.
Yeah, and nice thing that I don't know what the code of Chinese. So I want Chinese. Oh, it's even helping me with translation, and voila. Now we have even in Chinese when you don't know how to enter the proper code of this country. So this is the idea of GitHub Copilot, and this is the thing that it can do. One more point to add is context. Like in all my examples, it was probably that I was like creating the name, proper name, and it understood what it should be. But in some way, it may not understand. And in these cases, like I want to add test. Now it knows that I want to add test, but it doesn't know exactly what I should, what I want to add. So let's say test with not valid post, something like this. Would you be able to find? Should create post. Will it be? And no. In this case, it actually didn't work. Not valid post. Actually, what was let me should require valid post. Now it's again wants to have something like this. So this is the thing that you need to remember. Like this comments is actually quite nice for GitHub Copilot, and we can do something like I don't know, give me a random joke. And I think this is the site where you can find random joke.
By the way, is it possible to ask something, to ask Copilot in a native language? For example, can you ask Copilot to do something in French?
You can, but it might not understand you properly because like most of the comments that was added are on English, and as long as it was taught on the GitHub repositories. So it means that in French, it might not understand you so good as it would understand you in English, but it definitely can be.
It works, but partially.
Yeah. Like it depends on the result. Like as you mentioned previously, that when I was preparing to this demo, the result was slightly different. So it's maybe even with time something changing. Yeah, for now from the demo, I think that's all. Actually, not all, but for now. I believe we would return to our presentation.
We have plenty of questions, but I think we will be able to answer on them at the end, right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I will like a bit more stories about this, and we will proceed to the questions. Yeah, so if GitHub Copilot is so good, why we may think about alternatives? First thing, it's actually I took straight from the article which I've added to the last slide, and this is just to discuss it. Now, GitHub Copilot does not have free subscription. Is it worth to buy it? It depends on you, on your needs, but it's actually, this is one of the points. And there are some alternatives that has these subscriptions, which allows you to have some functionality without paying any money. Like this is the idea. No middle code completion. This is something that if you compare with some other tool, they actually can provide you even if you don't search for anything. Like you just open random file, you just say something, and that AI would provide you a result. But in the same way, this result is rarely useful on that case. So in comparing to GitHub Copilot, in my personal opinion, GitHub Copilot can provide much better results than the other tools that I was trying, and I will discuss them a bit later. Yeah, and one additional disadvantage of GitHub Copilot is about these models run locally, because you can't actually train GitHub Copilot, or you can't use it on the local environment. You need to to have connection to the internet. And this is actually adds some additional complexity when you're trying to use it for enterprise or for business. So the question is about privacy. And the privacy states that in case if you are buying this for business, they are not going to train on your code. So if you are writing, like I did a couple minutes ago, code on the on my project, it for business, it wouldn't share my code with GitHub Copilot team and don't try to learn and train this model based on that code. In the same way, for individual, this is actually present. So it means that your code is shared and GitHub Copilot trying to improve based on the code that you have, which means that for using it for enterprise, it's actually not so good. That's why they have settings in your actually GitHub account. The link how to configure it properly is in the last slide with the links, where you can just turn off this functionality for individual license. In case if you have this and purchased it for yourself, you just turn in this option off, and then they wouldn't study like their model based on your code, and it should prevent from any privacy issues that you may have. Yeah, and about alternatives. One of the alternatives that is present is this Tab9. Tab9 is basically the same model, it's even bigger after completion tools that is living for longer time. And here, this is the image that is provided straight from Tab9, where they're discussing why they are better than GitHub Copilot. And they are actually the one who has this training locally. What means that, for example, if there is some enterprise company that has a lot of sites, or for example, a pump wants to have this in standard way, they can train Tab9 based on the project that it built only in EPAM, which would mean that we would have consistent result and can have a bit standard way for the projects. And this is the tools that I was actually using approximately 2 years ago before GitHub Copilot. But in my opinion, it wasn't so good for C# development. Because this tool was providing a lot of results from Python and JavaScript, where I think it's much better than in C#. But in C#, it was trying to write code with different conventions and C# and trying to suggest something that not compiled at all. I believe they may improve for this time, but this is at least the experience that I had. Additionally, there is IntelliCode from Visual Studio, but this tool is actually doesn't provide in so much results as GitHub Copilot. These tools just give you, I would say, what's the best, what would you select from your after completion in this context. So basically, in case if you would using some index of and you are checking for something, then there is a high chance that you would use then, for example, contains or some other action. And this is the tool that is doing it. It's just ranking the completion defaulted by the Visual Studio. At least for me, it didn't provide the results that was it was nice too, it was given a good result, but it didn't provide any code as it's done, for example, in GitHub Copilot for now. Yes, and I think that's all from my side. Here we have useful links. In case if we would have more time after the questions, I would be able to show something else. But for now, I believe let's go to the questions.
Yes, and we have a lot of them. Actually, let's start from this one. So one of the guys suggested another tool, which is called Amazon Code Whisperer. This is probably something similar, but from AWS. So you probably didn't have a chance to try because this is not in your list, right?
I actually didn't try it, but I think I once opened their page, but I didn't see any integration with IDEs. So I haven't chance.
Okay, yeah. Interesting. I've just visited their page and C# language for some reasons on the very first type. So maybe this is because of the alphabetical order, but maybe they just ranked C# as the best language. Okay. Right. Okay, so let's start from the top one then.
We need to try it.
Definitely. The question about ChatGPT. So what do you think? Have you had a chance to try?
I actually did, and I also read a couple of articles that were comparing GitHub Copilot and ChatGPT. And the thing is that they are based on the same model, which is GPT-3, if I'm not mistaken. So GitHub Copilot and ChatGPT are both based on this algorithm. And the difference is in only communication. So with GitHub Copilot, you are communicating through the code, and ChatGPT is based on the questions and answers. What providing better results? I cannot say that because I said in one article, like they are saying ChatGPT is winning, on another article, GitHub Copilot is winning, and so it basically depends. GitHub Copilot is more for developers because like even in GitHub Copilot, you can just write a question and it would answer you in the same manner as in ChatGPT. But GitHub Copilot more based for you as for the developer.
Yeah, and I think if we compare both these tools, GitHub Copilot is already in the context. He understands your code, while when you are interacting with the ChatGPT, you don't have the same advantage. You will have to tell the whole story in your question, probably, in order to get appropriate answer. So maybe for an algorithm, it will be close.
One thing to us, ChatGPT is cool because it can keep context. So it's not like you explain it once in the question and that's all.
Okay, so it
like
will keep
asking,
the sequence of the questions. Okay.
Yes.
Interesting. But under the hood, you tell that it's the same technology mostly, right?
It's the same algorithm, GPT-3. So like the idea of the algorithm for the training is pretty much the same, but the result, like ChatGPT is built more for questions answers and GitHub Copilot for developers, like for suggestion.
Okay. Thank you. So another question is related to comparison of ReSharper and Copilot. Well, I think it's clear ReSharper it's a different tool. So Copilot can suggest, as we've just saw, the whole algorithms, like whole function implementations, while ReSharper is just mostly auto-completion story, IntelliSense auto-completion. Well, it has a lot of other nice things. It also allows you to interact effectively with Visual Studio, but definitely it's a separate tool.
To be fair, just to note one thing, that ReSharper actually underneath using ML, but it's only as IntelliCode for ranking suggestions. Like they are not trying to provide anything, at least yet. They have some minds for future, but not yet.
Okay. Good. Okay, the next one is very important. It's about all these restrictions regarding intellectual property and so on. And basically, what I can say that currently it's not even possible, it's not allowed to use for enterprise projects GitHub Copilot, at least at EPAM, because of these IP restrictions. But what we are doing right now, we are working with our clients in order to allow people to use this tool, because it seems like it may boost productivity if we use it properly. It may even boost productivity of our developers significantly. So yeah, Rostislav, any additional things regarding intellectual property? Does they guarantee somehow that they are not going to use the code, enterprise code, in order to steal our intellectual property and so on?
Yes, so this is what they added in their Q&A, like in their page, that in case if you have business license, they are not going to train their model on your code. But for GitHub to work, they are still sending our code to GitHub to be able to provide these results. And there they said that they are treating it as security information, so they are not going to share it with anybody. I think they told that only the team from GitHub Copilot team can do something with that. But in general, they are not sharing this information to anybody else and treat it as like security information. Regarding these, additionally, what they said is that any code that is provided by the GitHub Copilot does not have any license, because it's like built through the model and you can free to use it as you want. And they are actually building the system currently that would allow you to see what code is like reused and should not be used in your application because it's, for example, in some license on the GitHub. So this tool is currently in progress. And I believe in future we will be able to have something like that.
Great. Okay, another is more funny. It's about your feelings when you're just pressing a tab and just using the code suggested by Copilot. So what do you feel in that case? Are you satisfied with yourself that you're still good engineer, or something uncomfortable is happening inside you?
You know, sometimes it's, whoa, how does it know it? What? But in the same way, you need to be like twice careful, because like GitHub Copilot provided you full class, but it can make some small mistakes. And in this case, why it's not working? What? Why is the problem?
Okay, so you probably start treating yourself as a code reviewer instead of like developer who produced this code, right?
So sometimes, yeah.
Okay. Right. The next question is about guarantees that Copilot is not advertising any third-party packages or models. Yeah, I don't know what to say. What's your opinion about that? Did you notice something like advertisements from Copilot? Did it convince you to buy something from Microsoft, maybe their new Surface Book or Surface laptop, or a specific NuGet package?
You know, I have just for this use case, I have an idea. Let's because it's actually quite interesting. I would just this is you can see my screen, yeah?
Yeah.
This is Visual Studio Code, and I have GitHub Copilot here. So let's say what's the best PC. And to help him, I would have to say it in different way.
Laptop, let's
What?
try
Laptop, what it will tell us. And no, only one solution. So no, no advertisement. And now, no.
Okay.
Yeah, so not from Microsoft, at least for now.
Okay.
They may think something
Well,
like that for future, but not
I
yet.
think, yeah, that was a good opportunity to advertise you to buy something from Microsoft, but they didn't do that. That's good for them and for us. At least for now, okay, so we may treat it as an answered. For now, we do not see any advertisements. Can we consider, okay, it's about Skynet question. Yeah, I think it's more just a joke. It may be a future Skynet.
Actually,
okay.
I saw some people on YouTube were saying about GitHub Copilot. So like they were deciding how to have something like Skynet. And what first we need? We need code from good developers. GitHub Copilot, GitHub created. Then we need tools that would help these developers, and developers would say where it's right or wrong. GitHub Copilot created. The next step is this tool should build better code than we, because it was teaching from us. If we would have it or no, who knows? At
True.
least not yet.
That's very true. Okay, another is more an opinion and about trust. So the person tells that he will never trust to the code that was generated by the artificial intelligence. Well, yeah, it's opinionated thing. Okay, another question about front-end development, and not just like boilerplating some data fetching, but about building blocks of user interfaces, like blocks of HTML, CSS. Have you ever heard or maybe tried or saw such use case where Copilot can like generate for you some HTML page? Well, it seems like it can.
Would it be useful? We can have something like React post component. Let's try like this. Like I have just added a comment. And so is it useful or no? Let's continue. Body, user ID, created ad. So what else do we need? We need exactly component our. We can build our style. For information, I haven't coded on React for quite a long time.
It seems like you're a strong React developer.
Yeah, as you can see, it can build in case if like it's built in based on the code from GitHub. In case if somebody was building something like that on GitHub, it can do it. We can ask it like I want a button with tailwind CSS red with borders. Let's see what GitHub would tell us. No, this one. Oops, sorry. Yes. So and what we have. Yeah, so some strange comment. I believe this is something, it's definitely something on Tailwind. It has red 17, it had font bold, it rounded, which has our border and border red also 17. So here it is. Like it's even Markdown. As you can see, this file is Markdown, and it's built in just by adding this command, the class in Tailwind CSS. So yeah, it's definitely can build something, and it always depends on the context and on the what like trends on the GitHub, I believe.
All right. Yeah, great. The next question is about the level of the developer who can start using GitHub Copilot. Well, it seems like we've already discussed that feelings that, from my perspective, you should be like a code reviewer. You should be a good code reviewer when you use this artificial intelligence hints. And in that case, probably if you are a beginner, then probably it would be for you a bit complicated to analyze all this code. So maybe that's not for A1 level, for like more senior devs. But so, Rastislav, what's your opinion?
If it would be helpful for any level, I think so. The idea of them is they are removing boilerplate for us. Like we can do something that is matter instead of some repetitive items, and like GitHub Copilot can remove something from us. Like do the job for us. This is the thing. But yeah, you need to be careful on the results that is provided, because you shouldn't treat it as a production code and production ready. You need to test it by yourself and basically take responsibility for this code.
I see. Yeah. Okay. Another question again about NDA. Yeah, I think we've already discussed that's a very important topic, and Rastislav explained at least what GitHub Copilot tells about privacy. Okay, another question is how useful Copilot if you turn off sending your source code to GitHub.
It's actually turned off for me. So I'm not sending any code, but the settings is slightly different. The context is still sending. So like you cannot work with this locally fully. It's still sending some part of the code, like to give you a suggestion. That turn off checkbox, it's about training on your code. So basically GitHub would not train on the code that is received from you, which means that like if anybody else would try ask GitHub Copilot to provide something that you have, they won't be able to get like your results.
Okay. So the question about Belarus, not sure if it works or not, to be honest. You may try by yourself. You can request actually a trial and test. Okay, then a joke about GPT chat, that there are a lot of people behind the scene just Googling the answers. Maybe. And the question, again, comment about advertisements from the same person. Okay, we've just answered all the questions. Guys, do you have any other things that you want to discuss? I can actually allow you to talk. We have 3 more minutes and then we will wrap up. Please raise a hand. Okay, okay, Marcin, I'm allowing you to talk.
Thank you. Yes. So actually, you kind of skipped over my question. It says that you read, you paraphrased it, and I was really wanting the speaker's input on this. So my question, I'll read it. I know it's kind of I'm addressing ChatGPT here mostly, but I really mean it's a serious question because it's an existential threat for many of us. I think some of us are worried, right? So what do you think? Is it? What's your opinion? Is this like we're on the route of being out of a job, or if we're more of no, I mean it. I'm being serious. Or will we have to very significantly change the way we work, right? And if so, in what way, right? How will our work change? And in the long run, are we on the route of being out of a job? So that's my question.
Okay, yeah, from that perspective, that your question is like more interesting.
Yeah,
I agree that definitely if this thing will become more and more mature, at some point we will have to adjust the way how we work, and maybe well, I don't believe that we will be out of job. I think, my personal opinion, we will be like more like reviewers, operators of this artificial intelligence. So it will be produced vast majority of the code, and we will be like reviewers, people who will make the final decision, something like that. At least, like, that's my opinion. I think it may be like that. So Rostislav, any thoughts from you?
Yeah, in my opinion, actually too. But I also think that good developers would be needed anyway. Like they might be working differently, but they would be needed. And this tool is something that can help you, but it's not able to create ideas. Like it's not something that would you want to
so yeah, obviously,
some
for example,
site,
I
not create this.
I can provide an example where it fails for sure. So it can't create an architecture for you, right? It can just populate like particular fragments of the code, but the whole architecture is something that you said it can't do. You need to be a creative guy, creative architect, in order to design this system first, understand how the components should interact, something like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, another hand by Alexander. You are unmuted.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I had a question about Belarus. So unfortunately, we tried and it didn't work. Most probably because of payment cards. So they basically will be declined. Or maybe because of the billing address, whatever reason is, but from Belarus we tried and it didn't work. Good news is that business subscription is coming soon. So we as a company will be purchasing the licenses. However, important thing to mention, we currently are not allowed to use Copilot for external clients. Just be aware, by all means, we cannot. The reason is intellectual property. In order to be able to use it for our external clients, we would need to add a clause into statement of work or MSA with the client. They need very explicitly approved usage of the Copilot. So just be aware, you cannot use it for external clients. It's illegal. But we are working on this. We are trying to arrange a contract with one of our clients and put the legal clause there. If successful, that will be spread across the organization.
Okay, very, very important comment. Thank you so much, Alexander. And yeah, seems like we have no questions and we are actually out of time. Guys, thank you all for attending this session. Rostislav, great thank you to you. Very nice examples, nice demonstration. I hope that was very, very useful for you guys. And please do not forget to put your feedback in the chat. You can find all the necessary links. You can give a badge to speaker. Yeah, please do not hesitate to share your feedbacks. And for now, thanks everyone, and have a good rest of your day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.